I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, the book is called Onco 3.5, The Monster is Unmasked. It's a frightening tale. In a world facing food shortages and hunger, a group of scientists have created a living entity called Creature. It's intended to help end world hunger. But when Creature becomes dangerously intelligent and the government sees its potential as a biological weapon, our heroes must protect it from falling into the wrong hands and discover its true nature before it's too late. We're delighted to have the author of this book, Anthony Janiska, on our show today here on Spotlight. Thank the fine team at Prime 7 Media for helping us put Anthony in the spotlight, and ask those watching at home to please support writers like him by subscribing to our channel. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Logan.
Loved your book. I think it's an amazing work. You create this whole other world that is dangerously different than ours, but then also frighteningly similar to ours, particularly when it comes to what we're told and what we're not told, and information and disinformation. Tell the folks at home a little bit what Onco 3.5 is all about.
The book is all about the situation we have in the world at the moment, which is unfortunately a gap between the haves and have-nots and other factors, and that results in a shortage of food all over. There's almost 900 million people hungry every day, and it's a large figure. And there is unfortunately not a lot being done about getting this under control. So the book describes one method of allaying this so-called disease, hunger, and that is, I've done a lot of research on stem cells and associated things, and the book is about harnessing stem cells and growing them under lab conditions into edible food. And that is the core of the story.
Exactly. And like I said, it's science fiction, but there's a lot of lessons that we should learn about today. Tell me a little bit, or tell the folks at home a little bit who haven't read your book, what the creature is symbolic of, this creature that they create.
Well, the creature was a result of all the experience, and it is the product of the work of many scientists. And basically, it was not meant to be a creature. It was meant to be just food, but something tweaked in there. And the first substance became conscious. And that is the beginning of that story.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Do you think the folks at home who read this book will get the message that this is a science fiction book, yes, but this is a story about our times, where people are starving in our times, yet our government seems distracted by creating wars around the globe instead of addressing the needs of folks?
Yeah, that's the reality, Logan. Unfortunately, the world situation is what it is, and we all live in it, and we all suffer from some effect of it. But that is what the story is about, basically. Yeah. It's about a selected procedure and a selected entity which arises from that procedure. And unfortunately or fortunately, this entity turns conscious and eventually becomes a menace.
Yeah, absolutely. Be careful what we create, particularly with all of the artificial intelligence today and stem cell research, where we can, I imagine we could create anything we wanted to at this point, really. Whatever's holding people back are whatever's left of ethics and government control, I guess, right?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your background. What made you interested in this area of study, of writing, and creating this story?
I've traveled all over the world, Logan, over many years, and I've been to some places you wouldn't really want to be in. And some of those places, when you look around, you wonder how it all goes on. And that's basically the reasoning behind me starting to think about these things. And then I've done some research, and I had a little bit of scientific background. I've done a year of medicine, which I quit and became an engineer for reasons I won't go into. And yeah, so there's a whole heap of possibilities out there, and it takes some people to make them work. And this book, this story, is just one way I saw to solve the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, putting the information out there, getting those thoughts and those wheels turning in people's brains are very, very important. And you know firsthand the problems of having a battle-torn world. You and your family emigrated to Australia after World War II from Hungary, right?
That's correct. Yes, and we've experienced all of this, including the hunger part, firsthand.
Yeah.
And it's not a pleasant thing. It's not a happy place. It is now a happy place. The world is beautiful, but in those days, in those places, it was not.
Yeah.
It was World War II, and that was terrible.
Do you think our priorities are messed up? I mean, you see what's happening not far from where you grew up in Hungary, over in Ukraine now, a tragic war that is going on that is draining the world of billions, if not trillions of dollars. The consequences of that war will be felt for decades. Many, many, many lives will be ended or ruined because of it. And yet, you know, it seems like this is going on and the rest of the world kind of lackadaisically watches and throws money at it, and defense contractors get rich and people starve and freeze to death.
Logan, that is entirely correct. If the cost of these campaigns was, as you put it, thrown at hunger, the world would be a different place. You wouldn't see those terrible images you see on your screen on the news of places like Yemen, Horn of Africa, lots of places in the world, and I've been to all of them, all of this. And it's terrible. It really is terrible to watch those children with their bones sticking out of their chests. It's just awful. And I don't want to muddy this nice story which I've written with too many negative things, but
Right.
The essence of it is that we are, in fact, not doing enough. Yes, and we need to do more, a lot more. And yes, we need to stop wars and other things. Just imagine if all that money on defense, was channeled into doing good for the people of this planet.
If it was going towards butter instead of guns, it would get a lot of people fed, that's for sure.
That's it, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about your writing career. Is this the first novel you've written?
No, it isn't, Logan. I've written a number of books and novels and other things. Some of them are as long as 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 A4 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've written quite a number of works, and this is just one of them. One of the ones which caught people's imagination. I think it can affect all of us, any of us, and it graphically shows what is happening.
Yeah,
and it shows a way to overcome it.
absolutely. If you would, tell the folks at home what the title Onco 3.5 means.
What it means is I started writing the original book Onco. I started writing some years ago, and I was then doing some research in this field, and then it grew into Onco 2 and then Onco 3. And I said from the beginning, this might be a trilogy. And as it turned out, the 3 books just weren't enough to cover the subject. So it had to be another one. And the other one, since I've said before, this is a trilogy, it was difficult to define the 4th one, because you'd have to call it tetralogy. and then go back and revise all your previous books. So 3.5 is somewhere between 3 and 4 and become 3.5.
Sounds good. Sounds good. What was the writing process like for you? How long did it take you to write this?
I've written these books and many others over years. I'd sort of sit down and start writing something, and then I'd leave it alone for some time. And then the muse would come, and I'd be sitting down again by the keyboard. So it took a long, long time, a couple of years, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a continuous progress. Like you sit down and start writing, and you finish it when you finish. Not
exactly. Exactly. Have you envisioned this as a movie, perhaps?
I have actually, in my view, because I've seen obviously a number of movies in similar topics, and I can see that it would make a good movie, even though I'm the author, but I can see it. Yes.
I think we need to find a young Charlton Heston to star in it. What do you think?
Say again, please, Logan.
I said, I think we need, you know, the actor Charlton Heston?
I do.
I said we need to find a young Charlton Heston to star in it. That would be awesome.
Yeah, sure. That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Anko 3.5 is the last of the trilogy, or will there be more?
Well, like all good science fiction stories, it has to be a bit of an open end. So I say I wrote it to be the last, but who knows?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who can tell? Who can tell?
Yeah.
Always possible to continue on these things if you want to.
Right. Tell me a little bit about the ideologies that are used to prop up the systems in the world.
Well, the ideologies are created by people with vested interests, of course. As we know, politicians, oligarchs, people who have, and as against people who have not. And that's really the guts of the story. That unfortunately we live in a world where the people who have vast power over the people who don't have. Military power, financial power, and all the things that go with being the boss, so to speak. Yes, unfortunately, being the boss should bring with it the ability to do some good, but you don't see a lot of that. And that is the only depressing thing on this subject, because I think that people, when you see these people, these oligarchs, multi-billion-dollar yachts and places where they live and places where they go and what they eat, it just makes you a little bit curious why.
Absolutely.
How is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. The name of the book is Anko 3.5. The Monster is Unmasked. It is a warning bell, if you will, about what's going wrong with our planet right now. While it is science fiction, it's really not. It's rooted in reality, in stem cell research and artificial intelligence. And it's a good idea to pick up this book. You might get a better understanding of the world around you. Anthony Joniska, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan, for having me. Much appreciated.
My pleasure, sir. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.